Breach of contract occurs when one party fails to fulfill their obligations, renounces liability, or makes performance impossible. This can be anticipatory or present, and it infringes upon the rights of the non-breaching party. The aggrieved party is entitled to remedies to restore their rights and compensate for losses. The principle iubi jus, ibi remedium, where there is a right there is a remedy, guides the legal response. In this video, we'll explore the various remedies available for breach of contract, including rescission, damages, specific performance, injunction, and quantum meruit, as well as the concept of quasi-contracts. Remedy is the method by which a right is enforced or satisfied by a court when harm or injury is inflicted upon an individual. Remedies are crucial in contract law, as they ensure that the aggrieved party receives compensation or enforcement of their rights. Remedies can be related to enforcing contracts or redressing torts. The form and nature of remedies depend on the specifics of the contract and the harm suffered. Understanding remedies helps parties know their legal options when a breach occurs. Breach of contract means failing to perform any term of a contract, whether written or oral, without a legal excuse. According to Black Law Dictionary, it's the failure to live up to the terms of a contract. For a breach to be actionable, the contract must be valid, the plaintiff must show the defendant broke the contract, and reasonable notice of the breach must be given. These requirements ensure that only legitimate breaches are pursued in court, protecting both parties' interests. When a breach occurs, the aggrieved party can pursue several remedies. These include suit for rescission, suit for damages, suit for specific performance, suit for injunction, and suit for quantum meruit. Each remedy serves a distinct purpose, from canceling the contract to seeking monetary compensation or enforcing performance. The choice of remedy depends on the nature of the breach and the desired outcome for the injured party. Rescission refers to the undoing or cancellation of a contract. When a breach is substantial enough to defeat the contract's purpose, the aggrieved party may seek formal rescission through the court. Reasons for rescission include innocent or fraudulent representation, mutual mistake, lack of capacity, impossibility, duress, or undue influence. Rescission frees the party from their obligations and restores their rights, ensuring fairness in contractual relationships. Damages are the most common remedy for breach of contract. They are monetary compensation awarded to put the injured party in the position they would have been if the contract had been performed. Damages cover losses or injuries caused by negligence or deliberate acts. The quantum of damages is determined by the magnitude of loss suffered. Courts aim to ensure fair compensation, not punishment, for the breach. Damages awarded for breach of contract can be ordinary, special, vindictive, or exemplary, and nominal. Ordinary damages compensate for losses arising naturally from the breach. Special damages address losses from special circumstances known to both parties. Vindictive damages cover mental agony and disappointment, while nominal damages are awarded when no real loss is suffered but a breach is proven. Each type serves a unique purpose in ensuring justice. Ordinary damages are awarded for losses that arise in the usual course of things from the breach. For example, in Hadley v. Baxendale, the court held that only ordinary damages could be claimed, not for remote losses like lost profits unless those were communicated at the time of contract. This ensures compensation is limited to foreseeable losses, maintaining fairness and predictability in contract enforcement. Special damages compensate for losses arising from special circumstances attached to the contract. If one party informs the other of these circumstances and the contract is made, the breaching party is liable for such losses. Cases like Simpson v. London and Northwestern Railway Company illustrate how special damages are awarded when the defendant is aware of the unique situation. This ensures parties are accountable for losses they could reasonably foresee. Vindictive or exemplary damages are awarded when monetary compensation alone cannot address the disappointment or mental agony caused by a breach. These damages are exceptions to the general rule that compensation is for financial loss. They recognize the emotional impact of certain breaches, such as breach of promise to marry, and provide additional relief to the injured party. Nominal damages are awarded when a breach is proven but no real damage has occurred. The purpose is to establish the right to a decree for breach of contract. The amount is often symbolic, such as a rupee or less, but it affirms the legal principle that rights must be recognized even if no substantial loss is suffered. Section 73 of the Indian Contract Act, 1872, states that compensation for loss or damage caused by breach of contract is awarded for losses that arise naturally or are contemplated by both parties at the time of contract. Remote or indirect losses are not compensated. This section ensures that only foreseeable and reasonable losses are covered, maintaining fairness in contractual relationships. Remoteness of damage refers to the legal test used to decide which losses caused by breach may be compensated. The rules, established in Hadley v. Baxendale, distinguish between losses arising naturally and those from special circumstances. Only losses that are not too remote are compensated, ensuring that parties are not held liable for unforeseeable consequences. Under the rule in Hadley v. Baxendale, compensation can be claimed for losses that arise in the usual course of things from the breach. If the loss is due to special circumstances, it must have been communicated at the time of contract. This distinction helps courts determine liability and ensures compensation is fair and predictable. If a carrier delays delivering goods meant for sale, they may be liable for the difference in prices between the agreed and actual delivery dates. This is considered a loss arising naturally from the breach. However, compensation for lost profits due to missed sales opportunities is not awarded unless those circumstances were communicated at the time of contract. Compensation for mental anguish is generally not awarded for breach of ordinary commercial contracts. In Ghaziabad Development Authority v. Union of India, the court held that buyers could claim loss of profit due to delay, but not compensation for mental anguish. This distinction ensures that damages remain focused on financial losses rather than emotional distress in commercial contexts. In cases of breach of promise to marry, exemplary damages may be claimed for injury to feelings, disappointment, and social stigma. For example, in Laxminarayan v. Sumatra, the court awarded damages for physical pain, indignity, and diminished marriage prospects. This recognizes the unique impact of such breaches beyond financial loss. If loss arises from special circumstances not communicated at the time of contract, the breaching party is not liable. Liability depends on the knowledge and acceptance of the purpose and intention behind the contract. The degree of knowledge possessed by the defendant influences their responsibility for special losses. Once liability for breach is established, the next step is assessing the measure of damages. Damages are compensatory, aiming to put the aggrieved party in the same position as if the contract had been performed. In contracts for sale of goods, damages are measured by the difference between contract price and market price on the date of breach. This approach ensures fairness and consistency in compensation. Courts follow several rules when awarding damages. Compensation is not a penalty, damages are limited to losses attributable to the breach, the aggrieved party must mitigate losses, and damages for sale of goods require quick action. Parties may stipulate liquidated damages or penalties in contracts, and the cost of suit may be recovered at the court's discretion. Liquidated damages are a pre-estimated sum agreed upon in the contract to compensate for breach. If the sum is excessive and intended as a threat, it is considered a penalty and may be unenforceable. Courts distinguish between genuine pre-estimates and penalties, awarding only reasonable compensation. Under Indian law, the court determines the actual loss and awards damages up to the stipulated amount. Liquidated damages are a pre-estimated amount specified in the contract, while special damages are determined by the court for losses stipulated by the parties. Liquidated damages provide certainty, whereas special damages address unique losses arising from special circumstances. Understanding the distinction helps parties draft contracts that protect their interests. Liquidated damages are reasonable estimates of actual loss, while penalties are excessive sums intended to threaten or punish. Courts enforce liquidated damages if they reflect genuine loss, but penalties are only awarded as reasonable compensation, not exceeding the stipulated amount. The distinction ensures fairness and prevents abuse of contractual terms. Liquidated damages offer several advantages. They provide certainty, save time and expense, eliminate the need to prove actual loss, and help parties apportion risk. They are especially useful in commercial contracts, allowing parties to continue their relationship despite minor breaches. However, if the sum constitutes a penalty, it will not be enforceable. Dunlop Pneumatic Tire Co. Limited v. New Garage and Motor Co. Limited, the court distinguished between liquidated damages and penalties. The contract specified £5 per tire as liquidated damages for breach. The House of Lords held that the sum was a genuine pre-estimate of loss and enforceable. This case illustrates how courts assess the nature of stipulated sums in contracts. Section 74 of the Indian Contract Act emphasizes that reasonable compensation is awarded for breach, whether or not actual loss is proven. If the sum is a penalty, only reasonable compensation is given. If it's a genuine pre-estimate, the party need not prove actual loss. The burden of proof lies with the other party to show no loss is likely to occur. Section 75 states that a person who rightfully rescinds a contract is entitled to compensation for any damage sustained through non-fulfillment. For example, if a singer fails to perform as agreed, the manager can rescind the contract and claim compensation for losses. This ensures fairness when contracts are cancelled due to breach. Quantum merit means as much as is earned or in proportion to the work done. This remedy arises when a contract is partially performed and then breached or becomes void. The aggrieved party can claim reasonable compensation for the work done, either alone or in addition to damages. Quantum merit ensures parties are paid for their efforts even if the contract is not fully performed. Quantum merit claims arise in several situations: when work is done under a contract discharged by default, when a contract is discovered void, or when something is done without intention to be gratuitous. For example, in Planch v. Colburn, the claimant was paid for partial work when the contract was cancelled. This remedy ensures fairness when contracts are not fully performed. Quantum merit allows parties to claim payment for work done even if the contract is void or breached. The remedy applies when the contract is divisible and the other party has enjoyed the benefit of the performed part. This principle ensures that parties are not left uncompensated for their efforts, promoting equity in contractual relationships. Specific performance is an equitable remedy compelling a party to perform their contractual obligations. It is granted at the court's discretion, usually when damages are inadequate, such as when the subject matter is unique. The court considers factors like delay, readiness to perform, hardship, third-party rights, and adequate consideration before granting specific performance. Nutbrown v. Thornton, the claimant sought specific performance for the delivery of unique machinery. The court granted the remedy, recognizing that damages would be inadequate since the machines could not be purchased elsewhere. This case highlights the importance of specific performance when the subject matter is irreplaceable. An injunction is a court order restraining a person from doing a particular act. It secures the specific performance of negative terms in a contract, preventing a party from acting contrary to their promises. Injunctions are preventive relief, ensuring parties adhere to contractual obligations and protecting the interests of the aggrieved party. Lumley v. Wagner, the court granted an injunction preventing an opera singer from performing elsewhere, enforcing the negative terms of her contract. This remedy ensures that parties cannot act against their contractual promises, maintaining the integrity of agreements and protecting the interests of those relying on performance. Remedies for breach of contract are essential for safeguarding parties' interests. With the growth of technology and detailed contracts, parties negotiate remedies to mitigate losses. Courts distinguish between liquidated damages and penalties, awarding reasonable compensation and ensuring justice. The law aims to facilitate, not harass, and principles should be used responsibly. Quasi-contracts are not actual contracts but obligations imposed by law to prevent unjust enrichment. The Indian Contract Act refers to them as relations resembling contracts. These obligations arise when one party receives an undue advantage at the expense of another, ensuring equity and justice. Quasi-contracts are based on the doctrine of unjust enrichment. Quasi-contract is a legally recognized obligation between parties without a formal agreement. The law imposes these obligations to prevent one party from being unjustly enriched. For example, if goods are left in someone's house by mistake, the recipient must restore them. Quasi-contracts ensure fairness even when no formal contract exists. For a quasi-contract to arise, 3 essentials must be proven. The defendant has been enriched by receiving a benefit, the enrichment is at the plaintiff's expense, and the retention of the enrichment is unjust. These elements ensure that quasi-contracts address situations where fairness and justice require compensation. Quasi-contracts include supply of necessities, payment by an interested person, obligation to pay for non-gratuitous acts, responsibility of finder of goods, and liability for benefits received under mistake or coercion. Each type addresses specific situations where law imposes obligations to prevent unjust enrichment. Section 68 covers claims for necessaries supplied to persons incapable of contracting. The supplier is entitled to reimbursement from the property of the incapable person, not from the person directly. This ensures that those who provide essential goods or services are compensated, even when the recipient cannot contract. Section 69 allows reimbursement for payments made by an interested person to protect their interest when another is legally bound to pay. The payment must be bona fide, voluntary, and for a liability the other party is bound to discharge. This provision ensures fairness when one party pays to protect their own interests. Section 70 covers situations where a person lawfully does something for another without intending it to be gratuitous. The recipient must compensate or restore the benefit. The act must be lawful, not intended to be free, and the recipient must enjoy the benefit. This ensures compensation for services or goods provided without a formal contract. Section 71 treats the finder of lost goods as a bailee, imposing duties to take reasonable care, not make unauthorized use, not mix goods, and return goods to the owner. The finder has rights to retain possession, claim compensation for expenses, and sue for rewards if offered. These obligations ensure fairness and protect property rights. Section 72 covers liability for benefits received under mistake or coercion. If money is paid or goods delivered by mistake, the recipient must refund or restore them. This applies to mistakes of fact or law, ensuring that unjust enrichment is prevented. The law does not allow parties to profit from their own wrong. Quasi-contracts are obligations imposed by law to prevent undue advantage and ensure equity. The Indian Contract Act covers these under relations resembling contracts, emphasizing the principle of unjust enrichment. The law compels parties who benefit unjustly to compensate others, promoting fairness and justice. Quasi-contracts distinguish themselves from real contracts by focusing on obligations rather than agreements.